Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie review, and we're discussing the Black Widow spoiler review. Spoilers. Uh, yeah, uh, yeah. I'm just coming back from work, so I'm just now hopping on to give my thoughts on the Black Widow movie. I even stayed up till 2 in the morning, Chicago time, just to spend the premiere access to watch it. Next time I go see a movie will be the Suicide Squad 2, and I'll actually go to the theaters to actually see it. I would have gone to the theaters to see this one, but I'm going to be busy this weekend, so I can't make it out to the theater. But uh, I did thoroughly enjoy this film. Excuse me. Yeah, man. Even though it's like they've been putting this off for at least a year or so, mostly due because of COVID. But man, they it's not like after seeing it, I don't see it as like a huge loss as far as where it came out now compared to when it should have came out, which a lot of people agree because the time period where this movie is set in is pretty much in between Civil War and then the next movie she would have been in is Infinity War. So this is not too long after the events of Civil War. So yeah, uh, I think this is the. It's been a while, but this movie is rated PG-13, and they make sure it's like it's definitely PG-13, like an authentic PG-13, not no BS thing. It says like, oh, it's PG-13, like uh I don't know, like any generic movie that's like, oh, it's Black Widow, he's the Avengers, so it's gonna be alright to bring my toddlers to see this, and it's like, no, this is a pretty, I want to say hardcore PG-13, but let's just go with it, hardcore PG-13. If you know what hard R is, uh, this is hard PG-13. It's 13, strictly 13 up. Bring 12 and younger in if you if you wish, but you've been warned. But uh, it starts off kind of heavy. It's like nice and but then kind of heavy right at the beginning before the beginning credits starts rolling. Uh, uh, you got Natasha and her sister Yelena as little kids. This is right in like mid '90s, and David Harbour's character, the Red Guardian, and Rachel Weisz, who plays their mother, uh, all having a good time. Just playing and having family time, and then as soon as Red Guardian comes home, uh, they can even sit down for like a nice meal before he's telling his wife like, yeah, we gotta go. Just give me like the Americans vibes, that old FX show, The Americans. It's very much like that, but set in the superhero universe, and there's a little bit of Jason Bourne here and there. More specifically because of the villains, or at least villain, that's in this film. Uh, it's a nice, cool spy movie too, but uh, it's like it's a very quick. It's like I want to say like quick of a tonal shift, but it's like you see that tonal shift as soon as he has a split second to come in the house, go to his wife, let her know it's like it's time, and it's like, which is weird. Like I don't know why David Harbour had to wear like a wig that looks something out of the '70s. It's like a nitpick. It's like, but it's like it says the '90s. Why he's wearing like a '70s kind of toupee? in this. It's odd. But anyway, they pack light, roll to the airspace so they can fly to Cuba, where they meet up with their boss, played by Ray Livingston, but I don't know what the villain's name is, but he's very I mean, he didn't get much of. That's the thing. He didn't get much of time for us to be invested as to why he's so evil. We just know he's evil. So I guess he meant to be a pretty one-off villain, because this is kind of technically prequel sequel kind of movie. It's kind of like one of a solo one-off issue comics for Black Widow. And it's like wherever she's dealing with, not going to survive to the end, because you're never going to see that kind of person again. Just like a generic bad guy that you never seen before, but just meant for one particular story. This is kind of like that scenario. But my heart sank when because of course the mother got clipped in the arm from a gunshot as they were trying to escape. On thing it was Cubans, it was Russian medics looking over her. Then one of them pushed Yelena aside, and Natasha's freaked the heck out, and it's stole one of their guns, and holding her sister, and while she's waving a gun around, not waving it totally untrained, but it's she's locked in, ready to go. Just her arm was steady, ready to go. And it took her father to calm her down, to take the gun away. And this is where it leads into the whole Red Room thing that was discussed in Avengers Age of Ultron, which he only touched on, but it was never fully delved into. Because it's wildly different from what you see here compared to the glimpses you saw in Age of Ultron. Is wildly different, mostly because of how Whedon might showcased it to make it seem like some deadly ballerinas, even though Black Widow is known to be a ballerina too, but it's gotta have that gracefulness of a nimbleness of a killer kind of situation. But you don't see that when you see there's other Black Widow trainees involved in this film, and you don't see that kind of thing them practicing when they're secluded in an area. You just do see them gun training and combat roles and all this other stuff. But yeah, as the credits are rolling, showcasing that they were taken away, then one of those I want to say tankers, but it's those freight things that you see on the docks, and Natasha, Yelena, and a bunch of other girls. This is very human traffic kind of situations, kind of touching on the whole human traffic major problem there is in the real world. But then spend a heavy deal on it, but it is definitely touched on. It's very obvious, but you see them those two girls being ripped away from each other, and even here the boss of the Red Room mentions anybody who doesn't survive the process, just let them die kind of situation. It's you got people actually human trafficking and kids being ripped away from each other, and parents, and some of them being talked about being dead. And it's for an MCU movie, it's pretty hardcore for a PG-13 rated movie at that. Then you fast forward where like General Ross hunting down Black Widow after the end of Civil War when she stalled Black Panther so uh Bucky and Cap can go find Zemo. So she's on a run while like Clint, Ant-Man, Sam uh are uh and then Wanda are all locked up. I think it was in the raft. And this is before we knew that, obviously Cap was going to rescue them. But she's on a lam. She went to all the way to Norway, meet up with a contact to help her. Well, he gave her some mail. One of which is filled with some vials that, was mailed to by Elena, her sister, who she hasn't spoke to in decades. She was still part of the Black Widow soldier program, and pretty much their brains were messed with. So the fact that it's not just hypnotic suggestion, this is like actual tampering with people's brains because they figure out a way to neutralize free will, but they're still there and they're still cognizant of what they're doing. They just can't control themselves because this dude's like a sick fuck. Because he's very Harvey Weinstein type of dude. Just like a sick fat fuck that gets off on controlling women and grooming women and all the other stuff. And when he touches, women, it's like it makes your skin crawl. It's like ugh, like ugh. But I forgot that. I just, heard that actress's name who plays Elena. Something Pugh. I forgot her first name. But she's my favorite out of this entire film. I like a lot of these characters, these actors and actresses, but Miss Pugh, man, she is so good. She's hilarious. I love every scene she's in. Obviously she's gonna be a mainstay for the MCU for the next, decade or so. She and a couple of the widows was chasing a woman down who's holding these vials here, pretty much like an antidote to like the hypnotic suggestion thing that's like locked into their heads. Of course, like she ended up dying, but not before she used one of the vials to gas Elena to knock her just to release her from that control. She realized, she quickly gathers her senses, realized what she has to do immediately. Like she gathered all the vials, she cut open like a tracker that was in her leg, and then she, broke away. That's when she like figured like, oh, all Sundays to Natasha. She's the only one I know I can trust. Get this stuff far away. Then after that situation, the boss then obviously unlocked the Taskmaster program. Now, Taskmaster, just like I said, spoiler alert, is is the boss man's daughter, who Black Widow in Budapest has been referenced at least a couple of times in the MCU by Clint and Natasha. It's kind of like their inside little secret / joke / own personal story. The only two they're privy to. This is how Widow was able to get out of that whole sticky situation with the program, Red Room program, and defect to Shield. Is she had to kill her former boss. And the only way for her to even make sure she can confirm the kill was making sure that, he's only, he's definitely around when his daughter gets home from school. At least he makes sure that, he sees his daughter. And you hear Barton over her comms, telling do you have confirm? And as soon as he saw the daughter come in, confirm. And then boom, the second floor I think that was on blew up. So she, for the longest time in her mind, she figured like, oh, I had to sacrifice a kid in order to make sure I get this douchebag so I can get out. And it's kind of the whole Red Ledger thing she's been dealing with since, and more so after that. But the daughter survived. Then the father don't really wasn't even fully explaining how he survived without any scrapes, but he did, and he turned his own daughter into like just like a living weapon, who can mimic every fighting style. When you see Taskmaster, and the daughter's name Antonia, even the comics, Taskmaster is named Tony Masters, who has the ability to mimic. It's not no visor helmet thing. Well, I don't think it's even the visor. You can actually see her eyes are just she doesn't look like she's blinking a lot. So she constantly like seeing everything, like slight movement and everything like that. But in the comics, Taskmaster, they just like Ant-Man and the Wasp, they gender swap the villains. The Ghost and Taskmaster are guys in the comics. Taskmaster in the comics is named Tony Master, who used to work for SHIELD, but then he started taking money on the side. He eventually become kind of double agent, and then he just was dishonorably discharged, or just quit altogether, or they just had to just like get rid of him because of what he did. But he then started training his own group of, or at least became like a mercenary for hire, mostly to help train other bad guys' henchmen to be efficient fighting killers. Taskmaster in the comics copy, because he can't copy superpowers, but he can copy fighting moves and even voice mimicry. He copied Hawkeye's bow skills, Captain America's shield skills, Daredevil's fighting skills, Iron Fist fighting skills, Spider-Man's agility, even some web swinging tricks, which in Taskmaster case he does on like a grappling hook. Fighting skills from Punisher and shooting skills from the Punisher, and so on from there. But the downside is, any new piece of skill he learns, it pushes out his personal memories, which why a lot of times he doesn't remember certain things from his childhood, or other random things, just depending on what gets absorbed in and what random thing has to be pushed out. But in this case, this is a female, and I don't mind a female Taskmaster in the movies, but the thing is, the only thing I give slight pushback on is that Taskmaster is very, not jokey, but he has a mouth on him. Not on the level of Deadpool, but he has like an antagonistic / respect for Deadpool. And like, I expect Taskmaster to talk similar to Cabal from Mortal Kombat movie recently. That's how I picture a live action Taskmaster to speak as. Of course, like I said, I don't expect him to be all joking and everything like that, but I don't know. That's what I expect from Taskmaster, and not the mute. You know what I mean? But anyway, the Taskmaster was let loose. He eventually tracked down Natasha, who she realized that what she had, but at first she thought like Ross sent him, but this dude like she quickly realizes this is not like a Ross thing, and as soon as she started fighting him, she realized, oh, he's copying everything I'm doing to the exact stances and flips. He even like pulled that flippy twisty leg thing that she always does and turned it on her, which I find it so ironic. Taskmaster even got the Black Panther claws because when you first see him, he was watching the fight that was carrying on in Civil War between the superheroes. So, using like his couple times he used the bow skills, was I always thought it was pretty fun to see. Then like the shield skills, the only difference is, Taskmaster can't bounce it back towards his arm like Cap could. But she throws it at such a high velocity, it definitely, just it sticks to a column of like concrete. So they tussle. Widow realizes what's in the case. She does this little quick, sneaky little sleight of hand thing, and then Taskmaster kicked her off the bridge. Then realizing that she still had the vials but left the case. So she went back to the safe house where her sister Elena is at. They had to partner up. It was a nice little while they was running from more widows that eventually tracked them down. That was like a hardcore scene. We talking about like hardcore PG-13. One widow tried to jump after them as they were trying to jump it off of rooftops and everything. She like fell, and it's like you get to see the fall. It's like, she bouncing off a couple of things and before landing on like the ground with a shallow puddle of water, and like you see her leg obviously not twisted all the way, but it's obviously bent in the wrong way, not to the extreme, but it's like a slight twist in the obviously wrong way to twist it, and she was then like remotely controlled to like take her own stuff out and using her own widow stingers and zapped her own face, and it's like, holy crap. I mean, it was like, this is the hardcore thing. It's like, I hope nobody didn't bring their 12 or younger especially little girls, to see this kind of stuff, but kids in general, because this gets pretty intense every once in a while. Not all the way, but every once in a while you get to see some pretty like, jarring. But then, they on the road they need to like because they being chased after the Taskmaster again, but they end up getting away. They had to stop to get a like change of clothes and some like water and just supplies just to rehydrate and everything like that. And there was this funny moment at a little shop along the way where Elena really teases Black Widow's like making fun of like the pose he usually does when she's like not squatting but like in like a crouching stance kind of thing, and it's like, what do you pose? Like you pose like this, and you gotta keep calling like poser. I love her. Like as soon as she started, like at that, it was that exact moment because I left my ass off at that moment. That was funny as hell to me, and it's like, yeah, she got your number on that one, because it's like she does always do that, and we thought like the whole flippy twisty leg thing she does on her enemies was like excessive. That I'm surprised no one even pointed that part out, but they got time to like just chat and then realize they need to get their father, who's in like some kind of gulag in like maybe Siberia. It's a very snow heavy area, so I'm assuming Siberia because there's a lot of Russians there. They break him out. It was like another nice moment from Elena where it's like they trying to get Guardian out, she lowers Natasha on like a little scaffolding to fight off some bad guys to give him a chance to, because he got like super soldier abilities too. In the comics, he doesn't, but in the MCU, the Rush managed to create some, uh, like less efficient by comparison of a super soldier compared to Steve, and they gave it to Red Guardian. And so he can definitely he got a fair bit of strength, and some agility and a bit of speed. But I don't know like how up there compared to Steve he is, but probably not that much. But just enough to show that he can hold his own on a lot of people. As soon as Natasha was lowered, and then some guy on a gunner started shooting at the helicopter. Oh well, at least before that happens. Well, no, like someone was shooting at the car. She lost control of the copter, and she had to, when she gained control, it was kind of low towards not to the scaffolding, but just like a little bit out of control. And then Natasha throws her hands up like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Yes, we're doing a great job." It's like, God. It's like, I know MCU, not a lot of people like how like MCU is just like, they gotta like end a certain serious tone with a joke. I get it, but I still get a kick out of it, especially like when it's like good timing on it, and it's like, she obviously is, when she's like firing a rocket back at the gunner, it causes an avalanche, and I think she mentions like, this is a cool way to die. And another scene, because eventually they get captured, and then they were planning on experimenting on it later. Then she says like, "This is not a cool way to die," and I was like, I love her. Want more of her, please? More of her, please. And I got another bad girl crush now. Damn it. I can't have too many of those. But eventually they're managed to pick them up, and on the way out, then it's like, obviously he's still harboring like some anger towards him after he just pretty much left them, not realizing what they actually did in the Red Room. And then like, Elena just turn around, just telling us like, "Yes, you didn't know they like ripped out our ovaries." It's like, yeah, they chopped them up and then they took it all out their uterus, and it's like, whoa, look, don't need to hear that. And it's like what? And I was like, God, I love her. It's like she's carrying, like, I won't say she's carrying the movie, but it's like she's like Kano in Mortal Kombat movies. It's like fan favorite immediately. But then they went out to search for their mother, let's say foster mother, because they pretty much like, Rachel Weisz's character, I can't remember her name, but it's pretty much like another widow character turned scientist. They were ordered to like live together, raise a family for 3 years, kind of situation. Just to pretty much be like, it's like the Americans. It's pretty much like, be like spies on the Western Front, gather information, blah blah blah, before returning. So this is all like a facade, but not to Elena, as she says later. It's like, Natasha commented on how like they're not a real family. It was all orchestrated as a disguise. It's like, it was undercover work for you guys. You didn't really mean it, kind of situation. And then Elena, who got another best line, is the more, not only the funny moments but the sorrow moments, is where like, it was real to me. You was my mother, you was my father, and you was my sister. She didn't say it like that, but it's pretty much the same sentiment. But it's like, It's kind of like foster children. It's like if you adopt a kid, by all rights, you are their parent/guardian, and they will, you know, you are essentially family at that point, uh, even if it's not by blood. But as they do a rough landing and start their walk towards like their mother's house, they uh, you know I mean, obviously, like as they explaining their ire towards what their parents did to them, or at least their foster parents or faux parents did to them, Guardian's like, pretty much like making excuses, uh, and like he seems more concerned about his glory days, because there's a lot of times when he's like, "Did Captain America ask about me?" or kind of situation like that. It's like, and then another dude in the prison like commenting like didn't wasn't Captain America frozen in a block of ice for all these years until recently? So how could he fight you? Because the whole Cold War period is long after the World War II was over with. So he would have been long since in ice. So there's no way for you to have those claims, because he's a very boastful dude. But David Harbour is pretty good in this. It's like I'm not like a huge David Harbour fan like a lot of people is, because they got so sucked into the whole Stranger Things TV show. I never watched Stranger Things. I don't really care. So I didn't have no. I'm pretty sure he's great in that. A lot of people are great in that, from what I hear. But it's like, not my bag. I don't even care. But yeah, I know I've seen David Harbour in other things beyond like Stranger Things and even Black Widow, and he's an alright actor. I definitely like him in this as Guardian. But yeah, once they met up to the mother at the house, they sit down to eat dinner and everything like that, because she's like run like a pig farm, I think, because she really got like, because she's using the same technology as the boss was using on women to control her in the Widow program. She's using the same method on these pigs, kind of like testing on them. And then she uses this iPad where she like controls the breathing of the pig, and like she messes the pig and hold his breath for a long time anyway. But the fact that she's like continuing this conversation for almost like a few minutes, like at least 2 or 3 minutes, where she having this pig not breathing. And I love pigs. It's like one of my favorite animals. And it's like heart wrenching. It's like, let the pig breathe. She eventually let it breathe. It's like, relax. He can live for another X amount of seconds or whatever like that. And it's like God. And because Natasha's like, you made your point, stop. And then like she like, let the pig breathe, let the pig on its way and everything like that. But then it's the whole Elena's letting them know that they are their father. I mean, they are family to her. She went in to grab her like a bottle of wine off the table, and then went to like another room to sit down and mope, and have like Guardian went in there and try to talk to her, but it's like he's going over the story at first about like his going ice fishing with his father. He tried to grab a fish out of the waters, but it's icy, so the force bite set in very fast. So his father had to go to the bathroom on his hands just to warm it up. It's like gross as hell. But that didn't, to Elena, this irrelevant kind of story is not like. But then, because it wasn't helping at first, this whole little long-winded story that wasn't going anywhere. Then he started to sing a Miss American Pie, which was playing in the car early in the film as they were escaping the house to get to the airport or runway. And then it's like a nice little moment between father and daughter. That's when like the Red Room agents, started to descend on them, realizing it was the mother who contacted them. But it's another ruse just so they can find the Red Room, which turns out to be like a flying fortress. because no one was able to find the Red Room for all these years because it's constantly on the move. Reason it's constantly on the move because it's in the sky, hiding in clouds, and anybody who goes there or leaves there is automatically chloroform. So there's no way they can know where it is 100%. Then with some cool subterfuge, and after from Black Widow herself using those masks, switching places with her mother, realizing Taskmaster is Antonia. I don't even think the villain's name is Masters, or it couldn't even have Masters as Antonia Masters to at least get it close, but whatever. But then turns out the bad guy has his own subterfuge that he puts on this pheromone, which kind of subtly controls the widows to even if they somehow break free of their mind control, they cannot retaliate towards their boss. They immediately stop in their tracks, even Black Widow. But then she's starting at first she's trying to get this dude mad so he can hit her and break her nose so he can inadvertently destroy the mechanism that's in her head that severs the connection. But since I guess he was too punk enough to give a good punch, she breaks her own nose like a savage, like a straight up beast. She's like, wham! Broke her own nose, disrupting the control. Then she started wailing on his ass. He summons all his widows to the room. They start fighting. It's too many for Black Widow to handle on her own. That's when Elena, who eventually breaks free from her restraints, comes in and douses everyone with those that red powder. But when Rachel Weisz and went out to try to control the flight too much, or failure control the flight patterns of the fortress just to land, so SHIELD can come get them. She had to just force the landing by destroying an engine. But Red Guardian was tussling with Taskmaster before getting him inside one of those sealed off rooms that he was originally in. Widow comes back, tried to appeal to the humanity that's obviously in there in Taskmaster. But as a bullet crashes, luckily in a safe area, it was a nice moment where Widow defends herself, but she eventually just lower her weapons, and then managed to get the helmet with subtle fighting moves or hand-to-hand combat. She managed to slip the helmet off of Taskmaster so she can use a vial on her, so that way Taskmaster or Antonia can come out of her senses. Elena, the only reason the whole thing came crashing down, or at least no, Elena, luckily she was saved by Widow, but Elena nearly killed herself by finally ending that boss's reign of terror, because once he was on that a little mini Quinjet kind of thing, she stuck her bow staff inside one of the engine rotors things or turbines, and caused it to explode, killing the soldiers and the boss man all at the same time. Then once the threat is over and Ross comes to pick up Natasha while the rest make their escape, they do this little cool whistling thing, which they did at the beginning of the film. kind of like the whole sisterly bond thing they share between each other. Then of course you go to the credits. Well, like she was heading off to, because she changed her hair to white, where you see it in Infinity War. She goes to help out her other family, and then of course you know what happens, leading up to Infinity War, then Endgame. Not sure if after the events of Infinity War, her family, like, maybe it'll be explained in the Hawkeye TV show, but if Natasha's family was dusted, or at least one of them or two of them were dusted, don't think. I think her sister might have got dusted, considering she doesn't look that old after all this time. End credits. Her sister's at Natasha's gravesite. They didn't have her body. I don't think they managed to come back to claim her body, considering that they had to go back in time to claim the Soul Stone. But she's at her gravesite. Then you see, like, let's call her Elaine. You saw her in Captain America: Winter Soldier, and she's obviously recruiting the Thunderbolts, which is like the Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, minus the bombs in their heads. It's controlled by Norman Osborn, trying to take over, like replace the Avengers with his own group of controlled Avengers, which are made up of prior supervillains. They obviously got the Abomination, or at least going to get the Abomination, because we see a glimpse of him in Shang-Chi trailer. She's recruiting U.S. agent from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now she's recruiting Elena to be her Black Widow. She's kind of like evil Nick Fury. It's going to be evil Nick Fury, obviously. But then she handed Elena a dossier with Clint's picture on it, showing like he's the one who killed Natasha. And now we probably won't see Elena until Hawkeye's TV show coming on Disney Plus. I don't know when exactly. I gotta look that up. I don't know if it's gonna be this year or next year. But yeah, and that's the end of the film. A coworker asked me, like, how was the film? My expression didn't give him high hopes, but I tried to explain it as best I could, because I can probably articulate it better now once I get some time to chew on it. But it's like, if I can give it any kind of equivalency to any movie on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's somewhere between, like, better than the Ant-Man movies, but right below, like, Guardians, if that makes any sense. It's like right there in the middle. If I were to give it a grade, I would give it like a B plus or a solid B. It's a pretty good movie. It could have been a whole lot worse, but I just don't like, in which I think a lot of people agree, the main bad guy is definitely forgettable for the most part. I don't like obviously what he's doing, like a complete horrific situation. He's taking little girls off the streets, or probably by and large shipping them from their families to put them into his Red Room program, which only has like a minor successful rate survival. But I don't know, by and large it's like but then Taskmaster could have been better. I'm not against gender swaps if they done well. It's just that, I don't know, they could have just made, because like I said about, like, in the way Tony Masters is in the way he talks and stuff like that, you could just have him be like the crossbones of this film, or just be just like a bad guy who's just doing his job. He's like a mercenary who was hired to do a job, and he's sticking him by as a bodyguard to this dude, and just kick Black Widow's ass. Because when this movie would have came out on around the same time as the Avengers PS4 game. Because at the beginning of that game, you get this fight between Taskmaster and Black Widow, which would have in their eyes would have fit perfectly for the film, but none of that turned out well. The game sucked, and this movie was pushed back because of the pandemic. So nothing of that aligned well in their eyes. But despite those two slights against the movie, I still thoroughly enjoyed the film. It was an okay film. It was a fine film. I might revisit it if I feel up for like a spy movie to rewatch or something like that. This is right up there. Mostly because I love Elena. I love ScarJo too. But like, can't remember her first name, but Miss Pugh is so good as, I was gonna call her White Widow. She's pretty much like wearing white most of the time compared to the mostly black Widow usually wears. But yeah, more her. And of course, like these Disney Plus shows, for by and large, are doing gangbusters. I can't wait to see like her interaction with Clint, thinking like, oh, Clint, you killed her. And it's like, well, and I'm assuming she'll have him at gunpoint somewhere. And he was like, I'm pretty sure he'll be like, you do what you have to do. Like, I wanted to, be the one to give up my life, but Natasha wasn't having it. And, we were fighting over it. She obviously outdid me and just decided to, let her family live on. Even if it's without her kind of situation. But I imagine that something like that is going to go down in the Hawkeye TV series, which I'm excited for. I am really looking forward to it. And hopefully, like, by next Wednesday, when the last episode of the Loki series wraps up, we'll see more about the Multiverse of Madness. There's supposed to be a trailer coming up for the Spider-Man 3, so that way we can finally get some confirmation whether or not, because I'm hearing, and there's some decent sources from other people that I'm seeing getting these decent sources from, people like I, legit trust, on their word for a lot of stuff for a long, long time. Got like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, even though it hasn't been like verbal confirmation from them directly. I'm not sure. I don't know how like it was like sources, interviewing people, not maybe those specific actors, but people working on it, saying like halfway through you get these two coming through into the movie because Tom Holland's Spider-Man won't be able to deal with not only Electro, Doc Ock, but possible Green Goblin, William Dafoe as well. Probably a couple of his own villains like Vulture maybe. And it's like he won't be able to handle all these by himself. So I'm assuming like Doctor Strange is going to interfere and bring these two guys halfway through the movie a la Spider-Verse and to provide backup. So I'm extremely looking forward to that. I'm gonna go ham at the movie theater. Like I'm gonna get all kinds, not crazy amount of refreshments behind the counter. Definitely want candy, popcorn, drink, maybe alcohol, some cinnamon sticks, kind of stuff. Like I'm gonna like relax. I might even take a time off the day after I see it, so that way I can have time to process it, do a video on it, and everything like that. I just want to just like absorb it and have some time, No, not the day after, the day on. Because I want to see it on the day on that Friday as it's being released. I want to go to the theater, and then next day when I'm normally off, definitely like have time to process it so I can make a video on it. Because I'm just like so excited. Like I'm definitely gonna check out Suicide Squad 2 and Eternals, definitely. And I definitely enjoy Black Widow, but Spider-Man 3 is gonna be the biggest thing the end of the year. It's probably gonna do so much. Like you think Spider-Verse, did extremely well with the awards it got and like all the accolades and the box office money and everything like that. You think that did so well? Can you imagine do the almost the exact same thing but the live action version of that? With all like Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield, with Jamie Foxx, Electro, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, Willem Dafoe's, Green Goblin. God willing, making this happen. The stars align perfectly, like that. That will just not only break the internet, break box office records far beyond what Avengers did, Deadpool did, and probably the first Guardians, I think, broke a lot of records. It's like it probably will do like twice as much as than any, or even I don't even know about Infinity War, or probably gonna do probably maybe same numbers as Infinity War, depending how long it's probably gonna be in the box office for a long time, because I don't think there's anything that's like going up against it that's kind of significant in December. So it's gonna have like the top seats of the box office for many weeks. And I don't know, because I know like Black Panther 2 is coming out, I think next June or July. But I don't know. I can't remember what other stuff's coming up at the beginning of next year. It's probably going to be obviously another MCU movie. Oh, yeah, and Shang-Chi's coming out this year, too. I almost forgot. I knew I was like skipping something. But none of that's going to probably do as well as like Spider-Man 3 will be. And it's going to be holding that box office numbers for many weeks until like something else beats it out, which I'm assuming is going to be Black Panther 2, given the fact that what they're going to do without Chadwick Boseman and everything like that. So everybody's going to go see that, just to see how that's turned out, and just to support the film in commemoration for Chadwick Boseman. So until Black Panther comes out, Spider-Man 3 is probably going to do like so much in the box office revenue for many weeks to come. So that's my prediction. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. This is like, this is a good black movie. I highly recommend you check it out. If you want to go to the theater, go ahead to go to the theater. Spend some time in the theater, enjoy yourself. Everything's opening back up. It's getting very close to being normal. Or if you still don't feel comfortable going out, if you got the spare $30, watch it on Disney Plus. Make a thing out of it for you, or whomever's in your house, and just this nice little a family. I don't want to say it's family picture. It's like some here and there, some hardcore stuff. But just brace yourself if you're making a whole family thing out of it. So anyway, yeah, that is Black Widow. I will see you guys later for another review.